Good evening, everyone. For those of you who are not familiar with technology, globalization, and culture, my name is Mark Rectanos, and I'm fortunate to teach this course with Jim Oliver. The course is sponsored by the Colleges of Engineering and Liberal Arts and Sciences, and we have some great speakers in this class, and this evening we're also very fortunate to have an outstanding speaker join us in this series this fall. So what I'd like to do, first of all, is give a brief introduction of Queen Quet. And so I'd like to welcome Queen Quet and Elder Carly Towney to Iowa State University. Quet is a published author, a computer scientist, lecturer, mathematician, historian, columnist, preservationist, film consultant, and the archivist. She is founder of the premier advocacy organization for the continuation of Gullah Geechee culture, the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. She's not only provided histo-musical presentations throughout the world, but was also the first Gullah Geechee person to speak on behalf of her people before the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland. Queen Quet has appeared in and consulted for over a dozen films that range from full-length action films to historic documentaries, and has been interviewed by national and international media for television, radio, and print, including numerous programs throughout the world in Australia, China, Germany, Mexico, the Bahamas, Canada, England, and many countries in Africa. Queen Quet has received numerous honors. These include as one of 7 inductees to the Gullah Geechee Nation Hall of Fame. She received the Anointed Spirit Award for her leadership for being a visionary. The General Assembly of South Carolina also honored Queen Quet with Resolution 1453 for the work that she's done on behalf of her home state and Gullah Geechee people locally, nationally, and internationally.
Benny, this your store so long, crying, Lord, give we more time for pride. Hi, Benny, this your storm so oh, this your holy time. Oh, this your holy time. Crying, Lord, Lord, give we more time for pride. I've been in this your storm so long. Down here, in this your land, 100 yet about now. Anytime 100 yet about this year, and yet I'm called America and things like that. You ever know such a thing? And every thief we from Alkebulan, Chief Iwo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yuriva, Gullah, Geechee, Mendi, Ifik, Vivio, all the other rest of kind of children. Chuck we down together. The green men and dot. Now cocky teeth we tell, but no easy. And when the cocky teeth, when I'm standing, then I'll stand me. So we don't, no, we don't go in and things like that. And then, Nikia we ya, this your land. Cast we down, and we know none. Turn we down, and that's your place. And I get it water. I chast them, the day. Place your honor, and solve it and things like that. I see, plenty of time now. Feel like kindly, Shasta, Santana, Buford, all the rest of the kind of place. Saplo, I get it, but where the Gullah, where the Geechee? They had to go on yonder. Tell all the rest of the people, we're not dead anymore. And we just studied and say, well, how didn't look when we, because we don't, Dear Rachel, and then a cracky teeth say we not did it. Who we are then? Then can't see. I broke. But then we study about that thing. Same way. Then I study about who we ancestors with. Then I study about who we don't tell neither. So then I think say, should a cracky teeth do we? But ask me who we are. But then I ask them neither. So you call everybody slave. But we're not no slave. Even though my dad them would lick one we back and thing like that. We know who we were. You see the day. We're one of the kind there. They were that Gullah Geechee nation. We don't know who we be. Gullah Geechee at 93. So some of we the crack we teeth like that is just stiff and thing like that. Now act like we still that them thing throw out them rice, you know. Neither what we the cattle under in a crocker's bag. How we got sense. Mother with anything. Other us the people that kind of crack anything like that. Tell we for throw away all of who we been done. Throw away this year. Throw away the way we do this year and eat it. One of the we for throw away. Yeah. Won't walk we and thing like that. But still now, I give you credit for none that walk. And build up all of this year. Land. 100 years about now called America. The people that there right here in America. Now yet about we. Tall. So in that kind of for do this show, then the kind of left on the beach and thing like that. Still going back on. See, they ain't been doing nothing but this show. Gullah Geechee. I see. From the time they kind of yet they see we the crack we teeth like this and they say, But then if we talk to them like this, then they understand and they go back and tell their friends we really are there. But the thing to us that we don't grasp is, why is it that if we speak our culture, we speak and live our language, we do all of that, why is it that then they wanted to hide us away? But then when we code switched and then could communicate with them in their language, they really hid us away by saying we didn't exist anymore. So when they come in, and we crack we teeth like this and thing like that, and then we change and we say, hi, how you doing? Then we have people go back and write. I visited the Sea Islands from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. I had heard of this group of people that supposedly resided there, but they must not be there anymore. And as I said to you, but didn't seem like y'all got that part. We're standing right there saying to them, we're right here. What kind of crazy people are these that we're standing right in front of them and they don't see us? But the thing was that we were almost hidden in plain view before the whole world. People didn't realize that Gullah Geechees existed on these islands, much less did they know that the islands exist, bless you. Including Sullivan's Island, that I mentioned to you a little while ago, that's in Charleston County, South Carolina. Many people from all over America come to our area, and as I said to you, they'll come and lay out in the sun. They'll come and they'll play like this, and they'll go back home and never know our culture existed right next to them. But they never stop to think and ask anyone about our culture either while they're there. They never ask us who we are, what we do. They just come to the community and then leave, and then they draw their own conclusions. And many of those conclusions are as empty as the box I'm drawing now because they had nothing to put into it. But they sure tried to build a box around us. But see, we ain't not good for them boxes and things like that. We break them thing down all the time. Boxes don't hold us too well. We break them easily. Because we're people that live in the circle. Everything for us is about a circle. Our whole background, our whole ideology, our cosmology as Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gola, Gizi, Mendi, Ifik, Ibibio, all of these African ethnic groups that are part of our ancestry, along with the Kusabo, the Adisto, the Cree, all of the indigenous peoples that also either lived alongside our ancestors or some intermarried with them. For all of us, life is the circle. Birth, life, death, the afterlife, a complete circle of existence. And even the way we live is in a family compound in the circle. The only time we get a square is when we cross over from the islands many times onto the mainland, into cities like we said, Charleston, South Carolina, and things like that. But Charleston, South Carolina, that many of you may have read about or even seen on the screen. In Charleston, the peninsula, that's the historic city. You have Gullah Geechee family compounds, but because of the fact that that city was lined out by British people, they live in squares. So your grandmama's here, your auntie over here, your mom and daddy house over here, and your cousin so-and-so house over here. And somewhere in the middle of the block is somebody's sister, brother, uncle, aunt, cousin, who had married into the family about 3 generations ago. And then if you were to cut through this alleyway between the buildings and come out on that other block right there, that's their other sister, brother, that had married the cousin's sister, and now they got children too. So that whole neighborhood is related to each other. Now, as hard as that might be for you to understand, if I said in front of any Gullah Geechee, they would be able to tell me everybody in that family right now and their names and tell you who it was going all the way back to the first ones that got the first piece of land or the first plot, the first house, and how they built it and who was born in that house too. So for us, it's always about that circle of connection and continuation. Our shout tradition. Our spiritual movement is a circle. And every time someone comes from somewhere else to our community, if they don't talk to us, but they watch and they listen here, not just here, they start to tune into that circle. And if they've been anywhere else, they'll say, wow, I saw that in West Africa. Wow, I saw that in the Caribbean. Wow, I saw that in Brazil. Wow, I saw that just up the road a piece. But I haven't seen him lately. Is what we hear often. And we'll say, you know why? Because before, when we were out front with everything, especially when we were in the crack, we teach like this and thing wrong, all the rest of the people and thing like that, and then understand we talk. Instead of people saying, excuse me, I don't understand your language. Can you help me? Do you speak my language? They didn't do that. They said, stop doing that. What is that? You'll never go anywhere in life speaking like that. Stop it. You must say it this way. We had missionaries come in during the United States Civil War, or as we would say when Big Shoot started, or as Southerners say, when the War of Northern Aggression began. And this being the 150th year, the sesquicentennial of the United States Civil War, it brings back a lot of memories, a lot of collective consciousness about the very things that happened that work toward our freedom while at the same time working toward our bondage. Because although shackles were not now on the bodies of people, we had missionaries come in and work on shackling the mind to make Gullah Geechees feel as if they spoke the way that they did in their own language, that it was wrong. If they shouted as a spiritual practice, that's wrong too. So you need to get rid of that. If you went out and got herbs when it was time to be healed, you weren't supposed to do that either because they hadn't taught you to do that. So everybody from the outside started coming in, and instead of ever just taking the time to just stop for a moment and maybe observe and then get to know who we were for who we are and why we did what we did, they instead came in and said, no, we're bringing you the right way to do everything. The right way to talk, the right way to learn, the right way to even praise God. Do it this way. because they were supposedly civilizing us, making us appropriate members of citizens of society. The same people who had also assisted in keeping other human beings in bondage by saying they were only 3/5 of human beings. So they came in, and then as the war began, the schools started being established that are now referred to as the Negro schoolhouses. And in each one, the American Missionary Association and other missionary societies from England and New York came, and these educators, notice I put this in quotations, came and then began to teach. But how can you teach that which you don't know? You can't teach about a language you never heard. So instead, they would write memos in their journals, and they would write letters back to their friends that have now become published works that we could read to realize how they thought of us. And some even said that it was because of the shape of our noses and our lips that we had an inability to articulate English. Now, I mean, you never hear the people that crack a tea tall like this ain't been English yet. It's still a study about how hard to get that the English and things like that. Long as been know about English and things like that, and never yet did this year. So I have yet to hear any of those words I just spoke in English. But for some reason, they never separated it and said, well, these are African people, so this could be African language. Now, everywhere else I go, if you speak 2 languages, it's usually called what? It starts with a B. Bilingual. But in my world, we were called backward because we spoke 2 languages. And many of us were trilingual. Many people could say, ¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo estás? Some would say, Je parle français. But yet, our people were called backward and ignorant and told that for generations and generations and generations. And if you did not now acculturate into not speaking Gullah, corporal punishment would be issued to ensure that when I say, and children over yonder, what? The children that are over there did so and so. So now we have a generation of people that pass through Reconstruction. They go into the early 1900s that are homeowners, landowners of the same property on which they or their parents had been enslaved on, because Gullah Geechees became the first group of African people in North America to be landowners en masse. Because why? Also during that Civil War came land auctions. And many of our ancestors, the same folks they thought were backward and ignorant, while they were considered chattel, were builders of boats, makers of cast nets like what you saw here. They were makers of baskets. They were makers of woodcrafts. They were blacksmiths. In fact, the Angolans were the first groups of Africans kidnapped, captured, and brought in a region called the Sea Islands. And the Sea Islands from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, and then 30 to 35 miles inland onto the mainland to a river called St. John's is the Gullah Geechee Nation today.